Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 97 Republic YouTube channel, where I react to UFC news, live events, basically just anything related to the UFC. So I kindly ask that if you enjoy the video, a friendly reminder to click the like button. If you want to become a part of this channel, feel free to click the subscribe button. And if you don't want to miss out on anything, you want to stay up to date, feel free to click the notification bell. All of this really contributes to the growth of this channel. I would really appreciate it, and I hope you enjoy this one. Ladies and gentlemen, before I get into this video, I just want to personally take some time to thank every single one of you. I reached the 100 subscriber mark, and it was a goal that I set out for myself, and it's weird seeing that I set the goal, but you accomplish it. And I just want to thank every single one of you for every contribution that allows this channel to grow, whether it is a subscription, whether it is a like, whether it's a view, a comment, just everything. From my side, I really appreciate every single one of you, and this is an achievement, the first of many, a small step in a marathon that I intend on running with regards to the 97 Republic. So just thank you, I really appreciate it. Now heading into today's video, so there's no UFC events on this weekend, no pay-per-view events, no fight nights. So what do you do when you can't look to the future? You dabble in the past, right? You reflect on it. And this is the opportune moment to do so. So looking at UFC 314, from the early prelims up until the main event, gonna look at every single finish, every single stoppage that we had on this card. And then I'm gonna rank them. Just basically gonna rank all of them from worst to the best. And keep in mind, it's not just about how spectacular it was. This is all based off of my opinion though. So you know for a fact it's gonna be flawed. But I don't just look at how spectacular it was. I look at the circumstances surrounding it, right? Whether the winner was down in the fight, whether he got outscored and then got the finish, the circumstances surrounding everything in the build up to that fight. So just a few things, a criteria of how I see it, right? And who knows? This might become a segment in the future due to the fact that I like lists and I like highlights of knockouts, submissions, and I'm pretty sure you do too. If you do, leave a comment, leave a like, then I know you enjoy this type of content, and then I'd obviously proceed to do this in the future, following every fight night, following every pay-per-view event. We look at the top highlights, top finishes, and then just speak a little about it. So today's list, at number 8, we had 8 finishes, 8 stoppages. At number 8, the worst one, to the surprise of hopefully no one, right? Everybody saw this coming. Dan Ige versus Sean Woodson. Now if you missed the fight, so Dan Ige, Sean Woodson featherweight fight. Sean Woodson is a slender man looking guy within the featherweight division. He is exceptionally tall for that weight class, and respectfully has a massive head, a massive target on Sean Woodson. And I thought he was doing really well with regards to this fight, keeping Dan Ige at bay, being the taller fighter, being a boxer, an amateur boxer with a really good record, used his jab, kept Dan Ige at bay, and Dan was looking for that one punch knockout due to the fact that Dan Ige does possess that knockout power. And in the third round, Dan Ige caught him. It was a weird loopy sort of left overhand, which is odd because Dan Ige is an orthodox fighter, so standing an orthodox stance and throwing a left overhand, it was weird. Anyway, caught Sean Woodson, had him in trouble. That started this whole thing, and then just continued to barrage punches on Sean Woodson, went to the body, went to the head, and then Sean Woodson went for a takedown and basically wanted to utilize that grappling exchange to regain his focus and basically just regain his, I'd say, somewhat consciousness. And then as he was on Dan Ige's leg, Dan Ige continuously pounded his face with hammer fist to the side of the head. I think it was this side. And as Sean Woodson got up, he was gradually standing up and recovering. The referee said enough. I've seen enough. This is done. And he stopped the fight. Horrible stoppage. Now, in saying that, right, later we found out that Dan Ige was ahead on the judges' scorecard. And the fact that he dropped Sean Woodson in the third round, Sean Woodson, he would have went for a knockout to win that fight. He needed to knock Dan Ige out to win that fight if he survived. Now, sure, it's a bad stoppage. I don't think Sean Woodson would have won that fight, however, knowing what we know now, but we still deserve the right to see how that plays out. So, yeah, it's number 8. It was horrible. Then at number 7, Nora Cornell versus Hayley Cowan. Now, the only reason this is the second worst one is due to the fact that Nora missed weight. So she had a massive advantage going into this fight and she used it. Now, it wasn't smooth sailing in the first round, where Hayley actually, according to me, won the first round, and then Nora Cornell basically in the second round just ended up bouncing back and got the submission victory over Hayley Cowan. And then she was, somewhat weirdly perplexed at the fact that people was booing her. It's because you missed weight. Yeah, it's because you missed weight. People tend to really be upset about that, including myself, because you have a massive advantage going into a fight, an advantage, frankly, that you should not have. It's almost like using their pets, using any performance enhancing thing. You just have an advantage. But congratulations to Nora Cornell. She capitalized on the advantage that she shouldn't have had. So yeah, Nora Cornell, her submission win over Hayley Cowan is at number 7. Then at number 6, Darren Elkins versus Julian Erosa. Julian Erosa getting his TKO victory over Darren Elkins. Now, if you missed the fight, first round, Julian Erosa he looked like he wanted Darren Elkins to take him down. Due to the fact that Darren Elkins is a savvy vet, but he is at the latter end of his career, right? So if you can get that guy to wear himself out, then you basically have a punching bag on legs. A very immobile punching bag. And that looked like it was Julian Erosa's game plan. But then when Julian was on his back, Darren Elkins, wanting to take advantage of the situation, wanted to engage and basically, capitalize on Julian Erosa being on his back, wanted to get into his guard and maybe start taking off. Ate an upkick from Juicy J, and he just never recovered. It looked like that upkick wore for the entirety of the fight. Looked like he never recovered. He looked slow. He looked like he was out of it. Looked like he was starched. And everything Julian Erosa then proceeded to throw looked like it was, menacing, to say the least. So then what happened was Darren Elkins was hurt. Once again, he shot for Julian Erosa's leg, was caught at the foot area, and then Julian Erosa, the same that Dan Ige did, but obviously this was prior to their fight, he just threw hammer fist at the side of Darren Elkins' face. Referee said, rightfully so this time, because Darren Elkins was basically a corpse at Julian Erosa's feet. Referee said, enough, we're done, this is done, and then stopped the fight. And then Darren Elkins looked like a zombie. He looked out of it. So fine margins with regards to good and bad stoppages. This one could have been stopped earlier. No, I'm not saying it's a bad stoppage, but we didn't have to see it play out the entirety, play out the way we did, but we saw. And then the next one was at number 5 on this list, Cedric Dumas versus Mikhail Olechechev. Now, it was odd seeing that Mikhail Olechechev has had some tough fights within the UFC, right? A really good opponent. If we want to talk about, unsung heroes, people that might not get the credit they deserve, Mikhail Olechechev fits that bracket. A very durable guy who is always willing to go out and go out on a shield, fight the fight the fans want to see. Well, that was a lot of F's. and basically just put on a spectacle, never takes a back foot, is always game to fight. And Cedric Dumas looked like the polar opposite. You will probably never again see someone in the octagon that, I don't want to say he looked scared. Okay, there's no way he is scared. He's fighting in the UFC. I mean, those guys, they're not like us. They're in the 1% of the 1%. However, whenever Mikhail Oleksiejczuk threw, it looked like Cedric was expecting a bomb to land on his head. He just covered up. Whenever Oleksiejczuk, fainted, you could see Cedric Dumas was visibly aware of what might happen and just refused that to happen. So just covered up and ate everything. Now, the thing is, he could have had an injury going into this fight. He could have had an illness, or didn't want it to back out of the fight. So a lot of things to consider, but the visuals itself wasn't great. Mikhail Oleksiejczuk capitalized on that, threw some nasty shots. Cedric Dumas got on the ground, and Mikhail Oleksiejczuk just proceeded to throw punches. And even though Cedric Dumas, blocked a lot of them, he wasn't intelligently defending himself, wasn't really looking to progress in that situation by either standing up or maybe throwing something back. So referee decided to stop the fight, rightfully so. Cedric Dumas was a sitting duck. And he was visibly upset after the referee stopped it. We expect the referee to stop that fight. Yeah, we definitely expect the referee to stop it when it looks like that, and everything leading up to that, it wasn't great visuals. It looked like maybe Cedric Dumas came into this fight hurt, and he would basically just take years off of his life by the referee not intervening and stopping that. So then at number 4, Tresean Gore versus Marco Tulio. It was the second fight. It was in the early prelim, second fight of this entire card, and it was as good of a first round you will probably see in your life, due to the fact that Marco Tulio threw shots and kicks like a featherweight. I looked at it and I thought, there is no way this is sustainable, especially for a middleweight. But Marco Tulio didn't care, because he didn't think this fight was gonna last long. So he just threw, and Tresean Gore ate everything. Ate it up like it was cheesecake. He didn't care, just constantly, weathered the storm. And then he actually caught Marco Tulio, clipped him in the first round, had Marco Tulio hurt, and I thought, this is a problem, especially if you back Marco Tulio, due to the fact that, one, he's throwing a lot of volume, which isn't sustainable, especially for a guy his size. Now he got hurt as well, so didn't think Marco Tulio was going to win that fight when Tresean Gore landed. But then Marco, he had his time to weather the storm, did so, went to the second round, and I thought, this is where Tresean Gore capitalized, and we didn't see that. Marco Tulio just threw. And he basically started the second round where he left off in the first, just constantly throwing shots. And this isn't teeps, right? This isn't teeps or jabs, soft things. He was throwing with the intent of taking years off of Tresean Gore's life. He was throwing with malicious intent, and Tresean Gore ate it. But this time Tresean Gore didn't throw back, right? Didn't give Marco Tulio something to think about as well. It was basically just on the defense constantly in the second round. Marco capitalized and ended up, getting the TKO victory over Tresean Gore. But first round, if you missed it, go check it out. Okay? It was insane. As beautiful of a first round as you will see inside of the UFC. Then at number 3, we have Paddy Pimblett versus Michael Chandler. Now, obviously, due to the fact that I'd say this was Paddy's first real test within the UFC, because he has had favorable matchups up until this point. This was the first real test for Paddy Pimblett with regards to how good he actually is. And he made light work of Michael Chandler. Lighter work than Justin Gaethje made of it, than Dustin Poirier made of it, and than Charles Oliveira made of it in their last fight. So Paddy really solidified himself as being a potential, number 1 contender within the lightweight division by doing what he did to Michael Chandler. Now the first round was somewhat give and take, right? Was a feeling out process. Michael Chandler had some good moments, Paddy had some good moments, but then from the second round on, it was just Paddy Pimblett, and it was pure dominance, lad. It was, you know, ground and pound. It was submission threats. It was takedowns. It was, you know, good strikes whenever they were standing up. Just Paddy Pimblett really dominated this fight and ended up putting an exclamation mark on his ability within the octagon. Really silenced a lot of doubters due to the fact that whenever Paddy has an impressive performance, the goalpost keeps on moving. It was the same with Tony Ferguson, it was the same with Bobby Green. In his fight against Jared Gordon, you know, a lot of people thought he lost that fight, but Paddy came out and basically just dominated. In the third round, had Michael Chandler as bloodied. Yeah, I'm not going to make that comparison. Michael Chandler had a lot of blood on his face, and to the extent where Paddy actually at one point had Michael against the cage as he was throwing, and the blood ricocheted off Michael's face and actually, you know, splattered onto his coaches, which is interesting. And then Paddy continued on, you know, pounding on Michael's face, threw some nasty elbows, and then basically the referee stopped the fight, rightfully so. Michael Chandler wasn't going anywhere. He was already damaged and it looked bad. And Paddy Pimblett was insane. Just a really good performance from Paddy Pimblett, which gives him the number 3 spot on this list. And at number 2 we had Dominick Reyes, Nikita Krylov, light heavyweight division, the first fight on the main card. I thought Nikita Krylov was going to win this fight. I don't think Dominick Reyes would be able to handle, you know, the pressure of Nikita Krylov. I thought Nikita Krylov was extremely durable. I don't think Dominick Reyes would be able to knock him out. However, Dominick Reyes, we might be talking about, we've seen comebacks within the UFC. We might see one of the best ever, due to the fact that Dominick Reyes lost to John Jones and then proceeded to lose against Yuri Prohashka, Jan Blachowicz, Ryan Spann, all via devastating knockout. But then he turned his UFC career around. He went on to beat Dustin Jacoby and Anthony Smith, and in this fight knocked Nikita Krylov out in spectacular fashion. He added a few shots after knocking down Nikita Krylov. Didn't need to. Nikita was out of it. He was knocked out by Nikita Krylov lunging in, you know, somewhat blitzing, and Dominick Reyes just catching him with the exact same left that he caught Dustin Jacoby with, knocking Nikita Krylov out. It was insane. And now Dominick Reyes is on a 3-fight winning streak, so we might see, you know, the complete resurgence of Dominick Reyes, especially if he has to go on and fight, you know, maybe a Khalil Roundtree, maybe a Jamal Hill, maybe a Carlos Ulberg, maybe even, you know, rematch with Jan Blachowicz. We might see Dominick Reyes full 180 and, you know, in the near future fight for the title. Something we never thought we'd say ever again after the Ryan Spann knockout. Insane. Definitely worthy of its spot at number 2, just due to the fact that it was impressive. The occasion was big. You know, Nikita Krylov came off of a 3-fight winning streak as well, beating the likes of Volkan Oezdemir. I think he also ended up beating Anthony Smith. Yeah, I can't remember. But Nikita Krylov came off of a 3-fight winning streak heading into this fight against Dominick Reyes. Dominic being on a 2-fight winning streak. Nikita Krylov looked really good. And then Dominick Reyes just said left, you know, straight left, we're done with this. Yeah, I'm insane. And then at number 1, you know, John Silva versus Bryce Mitchell. A lot of talk leading up to this fight, with Bryce Mitchell obviously saying a lot of things. Gene Silva, you know, holding up a globe earth. A lot of trash talk. And, you know, Bryce Mitchell saying that he sees a legion of demons in John Silva. John Silva actually also being Christian was weird. It wasn't uncomfortable, it was just weird. But then we saw this fight take place, and I noticed that as soon as it finished, John Silva had multiple opportunities to actually finish Bryce Mitchell in this fight prior to doing so. He had a guillotine. I'm sure that was more, you know, credit to Bryce for getting out of it. but he ended up knocking down Bryce Mitchell as well, told him to stand up, due to the fact that it felt like John Silva wasn't done showcasing how good and how much superior he is to Bryce Mitchell with regards to his mixed martial arts ability. Had Bryce Mitchell stand up and then went on to submit him via that ninja choke, which was insane. First of all, it was a matter of seconds and Bryce was out cold. The amount of squeeze that John Silva has is insane. A lot of power within his shots, a lot of power within his jiu-jitsu game. Just an incredible stoppage, incredible finish for John Silva. Really put an exclamation mark on that entire performance. And as soon as the second round started, John Silva walking up to Bryce Mitchell, asking for a glove touch, Bryce refusing, I knew John Silva wanted to make an example of Bryce Mitchell. And he did. Whether you are a Bryce fan, whether you're a John Silva fan, or just a UFC fan, he made an example of Bryce Mitchell. Really showcased that he was on a different level. And that's basically the list. So let me know in the comment section, do you agree with the list? Do you think the order is messed up? It definitely is in some way. But let me know which changes you would make. I would really appreciate it. And I'll catch you in the next one.